Yeah, you're gonna start whenever you're ready.
Alright, sounds good.
Go ahead.
Alright, Minnesota loves fish. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Minnesota is second only to Alaska in terms of the number of residents who enjoy fishing. It's a really big number, 34% of Minnesotans like to go fishing. This makes sense. This is kind of a part of our culture here. We're the land of 10,000 lakes. We're really connected to the water, and we're really connected to the animals that live there. So today I want to talk about one case study where this is an example of what happens when we love these fish too much. Has anyone here been to Mille Lacs before? A lot of us, right? I figure being in sea fans, this is probably something everyone's quite familiar with. If you haven't been there, you're not familiar with it, Mille Lacs is the second largest lake in Minnesota. It's over 200 square miles. It's just north of the Twin Cities here, and people come from all over to fish in Mille Lacs. And if you had to choose, you can just say it if you know it. What one fish is Mille Lacs most famous for? Walleye. You guys know this stuff, right? So I'm a fish biology person, so I'm really interested in the walleye. If you haven't seen them, I brought a little visual here so you know what a walleye looks like, not to scale. They do get pretty big. They get about 3 feet. They have this really beautiful green and gold coloring. They're predators that eat other fish. They've got really sharp teeth. That makes it really hard to raise them, by the way, like we do next door in the lab. And one thing that's really unique about the walleye is that if you shine a flashlight in the water, which sometimes fishermen will do, in order to find them, their eyes will glow back at you, just like a cat or a deer. And that's something that helps them to survive in those dark and turbid environments. I'll put our walleye here to observe us. So the walleye, it's the state fish of Minnesota. Of all the fish that we have in Minnesota, that's the one that we chose to represent us. So it's a really special fish. And in Mille Lacs, it's really special in particular. They have a really rich history of fishing for walleye there. The indigenous people of the area have depended on the walleye fishery for a really long time. And all the businesses and towns around there really depend on the walleye as well. But why do we choose the walleye to be the fish? Why does that drive the local economies and the livelihoods of people there? One reason is that they're really fun to catch. Does anyone here like to go fishing? Who here fishes in this room? Okay, a handful of you. So fishing is a really big draw to Mille Lacs, and people love to catch walleye because they get big, and I think they're really good to eat. I am probably the only person in the fisheries department that doesn't eat fish or go fishing, but I hear that they're a really good fish to eat, and this drives a lot of the businesses there. So historically, the people have been really connected to it, and they remain connected to this fish today. So when you have thousands of people that are fishing in Mille Lacs year after year, and this has been going on for a long time, it's been fairly sustainable, but in recent years, this population of walleye has crashed. Have you all heard of that? The walleye population crash, right? So this is something that we hear about in the news all the time. It's important to our communities here. But why did this happen? As of 2014, there really just weren't a lot of large fish anymore. And fishing pressure is part of it. People like to go and take out these big fish that are really important to being able to reproduce and replenish that population. So fishing pressure is part of it, but it's taken a lot of time and a lot of studies through places like the University of Minnesota, the Department of Natural Resources, to really get to the root cause of why the population dropped so fast and so steeply. And one of the big conclusions that we've come to is that environmental change has been the real driving force. So when I'm going to talk about environmental change in terms of the walleye, I'm going to refer specifically to the change happening as a result of invasive species. I'm sure all of you in this room are familiar with invasive species. The zebra mussel is maybe public enemy #1 when it comes to aquatic invasive species. And we're only still now learning about how they're changing the environment, altering the food web, making it so that these walleye are not having a chance to survive. So we're still catching up with this collapse. We're taking a lot of time to learn about what's happened to them and how we can help them. And there have been tremendous efforts to bring the walleye back. And through catch and release, fishing programs, as well as invasive species management. And as of this past year, the DNR reports that large walleye numbers have nearly tripled. So we've really made a lot of progress on that. And again, Minnesotans, we love our fish, and so I'm hopeful that pretty soon we'll see them.